Working on cars might be my favorite thing to do. You might even call it a passion. But sometimes, progress on a project requires errands and paperwork that pull me away from the garage. It's almost painful to leave. Today, I didn't get to touch a wrench, but I made progress. About a week ago, I dropped off some parts to get painted for the 2016 WRX I'm working on, and I was happy to get a call that they're ready. I just fueled up the truck. The bumper and the fender are ready to be picked up. So I'm going to drive all the way to the north side of the town I live in to retrieve them. And I gotta pick up one thing on the way. I gotta pick up the oxygen sensor. I forgot to get that yesterday. There were no stores nearby that had it, but there's one on the way to where the parts got painted. Ain't nothing like an old truck. Ain't nothing like it. The only thing better than cruising in my truck with the windows down on a nice day is if my wife liked doing it too. All this traffic, I should have taken the toll road. It would have put me several miles farther up the road. Well, the bumper and the fender made it back to the house. Nice, no scratches there. Dadgummit. Now that I got the parts back, I'm worried about them looking too good to go onto the car. I mean, this is where there was a crack, and I think he did an excellent job repairing it. He even fixed the crack on the bottom that I didn't care about. But that means that when it's time to clean up this car, I'm actually gonna have to do a good polish on it because the bumper and fender are gonna be fresh and clean. So when I got home to drop the parts off, the title for the WRX arrived. So now I'm going right back out to the DMV. Thankfully, there's a DMV between my house and my mother's house where I keep the truck. So I might not get to wrench today. It might just be a errands and paperwork day. Yeah, paperwork, logistics, and planning is my least favorite thing about doing car stuff, but it's all worth it when you fix the problem or you get the car and everything's working. It's just not fun. When I went to the north side of town to pick up the bumper and the fender, I forgot to get the oxygen sensor. So at some point I gotta drive back up there to get it. So the DMV is right up there. I gotta go get cash for one of the services. How long do you think it'll take me to get this title transferred in DMV? I'm thinking maybe 20 minutes. It wasn't painful at all, but it took a little longer than I anticipated. I don't know exactly how long. I want to say 35, 45 minutes, only because I didn't include the bill of sale. I hate to do this, but if I'm gonna keep driving this truck as much as I've driven it the last 2 weeks, I'm gonna need at least Bluetooth because I'm missing my podcast and hands-free phone calls. And this is one I took out of the Golf. I mean, it's also a Pioneer, but I think the plug is different than the one for this car. Yeah, this head unit's been in the truck since I've owned it. A cheap upgrade, but one that would at least give me Bluetooth functionality. And when it makes sense, I'm gonna take off all this bubbling tint. And finally, it's more of a money issue than a time issue, get this windshield replaced. I'm gonna see if my insurance company will do it for free. Drop the truck off, heading home to get ready for evening activities and yet more traffic. I'm trying to set it up so I do all my work at home, but you just can't get around it. Sometimes you got to get in the car and sit in traffic. Now, I like driving, I just don't like not driving while the car is idling. You know what I mean? At least I have podcasts. Right now I'm listening to this podcast called Everyday Driver. People call in and they give them their life constraints, their budgets, any cars they don't want, and they try and pick out the best car. It's two hosts, and one host gives his ideas and the second host gives his ideas. I thought about writing them and being like, hey, you gotta tell them a little bit about yourself. And I thought about writing them and saying, you know, I want a $2,000 car, and these are my constraints. The cheapest car I've heard on this show was $10,000. It was on this current episode, and the guy, ooh, green light, I get to move. And the guy said, yeah, my budget is $10,000. And they were like, ugh, ooh, $10,000. I was hoping you'd say at least 20. But shoot, I haven't spent $20,000 for a car for myself since like the early 2000s, so over 20 years ago. For myself, it's been a long time since I went over 10. And right now, I'd be hard pressed to go over 5 for a car for myself. But anyway, it's a good show, and podcasting generally occupy my mind to give me something to listen to and think about when I'm stuck in traffic. But I'm moving pretty good now. I should be home in about 10 minutes.
Subaru did away with the WRX STI. It's now BRZ-TS, right?
That's that one.
And WRX TS.
TS as well.
But STI is
STI
gone.
is going at the moment, yeah. It's going
Well, it's
away,
not
yeah.
a true STI.
You're
It's
right.
got some of the
That's a good
bits,
point.
and it's got the appearance, but that's not a real STI.
A few hours later, and I finally made it to Advance. Even though I didn't get to wrench today, days like today are what make the days where I can wrench all day possible. And I'm going to need some days like that because I have lots of parts that are ready to go on the WRX. Y'all take care.